Hey everyone, Slambo here. Got another contest today. This one is the Gold Sounds contest for Seekingathread. He asked us a couple of questions. Show 5 or more records or CDs or tapes or whatever physical media with one of these traits. Either a musical touchstone or a song that was present for key moments, important songs, records in the personal history, key songs or records that define you, or anything like that. So I'm going with a few things that are important to me, a few songs that are important to me, both in my development and in my continuing life. And I'm going to go in chronological order from the oldest that I remember to the most recent. So first, we go with the best of the Stan Freberg shows. There's a track on here where the cast, or especially Stan Freberg himself, has to sing Old Man River, but he happens to be singing it at the time that the CBS censors happen to be there to bleep out anything that's inconsiderate or controversial, shall we say. So Old Man River became Elderly Man River. And a big part of the bit is that every time the censor presses his little beep to say, wait, you need to change something, and then after he tells him what needs to be changed, he prompts Stan Freberg to thank him, and he answers, "You're quite welcome, I'm sure." So that phrase, "You're quite welcome, I'm sure," has become one of those touchstone phrases in our family. The second one that I want to show is one that I finally got my own copy of, and that's from the Belafonte at Carnegie Hall concert. This is another record that my parents had, and we listened to it a lot growing up. So when I got this one on the weekend that I went to the record show in Milwaukee is where I found this one. So when I got this one, this was the first record that I listened to when I got home. And one of the key tracks on here that we all remember, of course, is right there on side 3. Kind of hard to see through the sleeve there. Day-O, the Banana Boat song. We would always sing Day-O to each other. And of course, listening to this year was a much more emotional listening than listening to it at any time when I was a kid. So Day-O from Harry Belafonte is my second pick for a key touchstone song in my development. Next one we jump up into high school for, and one of the first sort of video, but not really video. It was a slideshow project that we had to put music to, and I was involved in that project for social studies class. It was a group project that we all brought our own perspective to it. We were supposed to rewrite an old folk story into a modern time frame, and the folk story we were given was that of two hunters that were hunting wolves, fought each other so much that they trapped each other, and then while they're sitting there trapped wondering what to do, they can hear the wolves off in the distance coming for them. And when we rewrote that story for the modern age, at that time that was the mid-'80s, and that was right after movies like The Day After came out. So nuclear war was top of the mind for us, even in high school. So we rewrote it as two national leaders playing a game of Risk. And the song that we put under that, of course, is from Tears for Fears, from Songs from the Big Chair. It is, of course, Everybody Wants to Rule the World. So whenever I hear that song anywhere, I always think back to that high school project. So Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World is my next pick. The next one, also from high school. I was in probably one of the bigger nerd groups in high school. I know you'd never guess. But every New Year's Day, or New Year's Eve actually, one of my friends hosted a huge New Year's Eve party at his house and didn't have to announce it. We just all assumed that it was happening at his house every year. And it became such a thing that we teased him that, when you move away from here, we're just all going to show up there, and the new owners of that house are going to be wondering, what are all you people doing here for New Year's? New Year's, but why are you here? It's not his house anymore, it's my house now. But anyway, at one of those gatherings of that nerd group, one of my friends had This album, this brand new CD in 1984, They Might Be Giants, their first self-titled album, They Might Be Giants. Sometimes it's called the Pink Album because it's a pink cover. This is the album that got me into listening to and got me to become a super fan of They Might Be Giants. Especially once it got to the third track on here called Number 3, where it starts off, "There's only 2 songs in me and I just wrote the third." So I heard that and said, yes, I need that, and I got into listening to them more and more and more, and now They Might Be Giants is one of those bands that I have to find and buy everything that I can from. I do have a couple of shirts. I went to several of their shows. I see them whenever they I try to see them whenever they come through Madison. I've got, I think, almost all of the records on CD. I'm now switching to, of course, buying them on vinyl again. And I showed a couple of those recently in two, I think, no, not two, there was one. It was one video where I showed acquiring 2 more They Might Be Giants records. The last one I want to show is one that I got right after, well, not right immediately after, it's like 4 or 5 years after we graduated high school. It was one that I got at my wedding as a wedding gift. I told this story before, but Hyperion Outfall Serenaders were the official band of Manhattan Beach, California, where I grew up and where I met my wife and where she grew up. And this is the band that we had play at our wedding. And this is the record that they gave us at that event. So they played at our wedding. It's Dixieland. They played most of what's on here. And I asked them for a couple of songs that I knew specifically, but this has tracks on it including Alexander's Ragtime Band, the Millenberg Joys, Chinatown, Peoria, which was probably their most famous song. I remember going to some of the concerts in the park at Pollywog Park in Manhattan Beach when these guys were playing, and there was one guy in the back at least one show that had a sign on a tall pole. It just said Peoria. And at the end of every song, he'd hold up and wave around his Peoria sign because he wanted to hear Peoria. Well, it's on this record. We've also got other songs including Shine, Ida, the Royal Garden Blues, and California Here I Come, and a few others on here. But Hyperion Outfall Serenaders are the 5th band that I want to show as playing key moments in my rearing and growing up. So those are 5 songs and albums that had a key significance in my lifetime. Contest entry for Seeking a Thread. That's what I've got today. See you next time.